Oh, yes. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. Hey, everyone. Before we get started with the show, I'm excited to announce two things. First is that my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed, is now live on Amazon. So go get it. The second thing is we have a new sponsor, Qualified.com. I'm going to tell you about them in the next couple seconds here, and also how you can get a free copy of my book thanks to them. So who are these people? Well, Qualified is the #1 live chat and chatbot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Sales reps can have real-time, personalized conversations with who? Your hottest website visitors. So I want you to know, I don't just partner with anyone. I genuinely love these guys. And the platform, we use it at my company. Our sales team loves it. We've closed a lot of deals based on it, had a lot of great conversations with prospects too. So, a lot of marketing these days is what? Hurry up and wait, right? Fill out this form. And then if we pass you over to sales, maybe you'll swap 6 emails with them to find a good time to talk. But what if a prospect is doing research right now and they would chat now? Why not give them the opportunity? So the best part is your company actually decides what leads are worth a live chat. There's a lot of noise out there. You don't want to talk to everyone. So Qualified actually connects to Salesforce and Pardot, and it's able to pull in lead and contact information so you can specifically know if you're talking to a VIP, a VP, a decision maker. It's really kind of like magic. Now, if you don't know who someone is, well, what happens then, Casey? Well, that's when the bots come in handy. Chatbots can then ask questions to further qualify a lead, find out if maybe this is someone you do want to talk to. And they can book meetings while your sales team is out. And they can wake up the next morning with a bunch of meetings on their calendar. Now, here's the promo. If you are a company that wants to give your sales team this ability, right, to be able to talk to decision makers right when they're on your website, do this. Go to qualified.com and start a chat, right? They use their own tool, of course. Start a chat. Tell them that Casey sent you. If you have Salesforce Pardot, when you schedule and then do a demo, they will send you a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed. Not bad, right? Well, it's only while supplies last. So hop on this thing today. And that's it for sponsors. Let's get to the show.
There it is. All right, let's do this. My guest, she is a one-person army, which is her getting it done in marketing across multiple disciplines. How many of you can relate to that? I know I can. The idea of, hey, it's that one-person marketing team, and you got to get it all done. And she's been doing it across B2B, B2C, SaaS, content, email, social, you name it, all the different disciplines. You get this, 9 startups in 10 years. What? 7 side hustles. How does she have time for anything? Ambassador at She Geeks Out. Previously the head of marketing at services at Clearbanc. Now she's a marketing consultant advising VC firms, evaluating those next options. Amazing, amazing. Juliana Casale, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Casey.
Yeah, wow, you're busy, huh?
You make me sound like I don't sleep. I promise I do.
Do you sleep? Do you get some good sleep last night? How'd it go? A couple, 8 or 9 hours? Or how's your quarantine sleep?
I've been averaging 7. I'm not going to lie. I can usually sleep 12 to 13 hours on weekends, and I haven't been able to do that recently. So that's a loss in my book, but not the worst loss anyone can sustain during a pandemic. So I'm lucky.
That's a lot of time. True. Yeah. A couple hours of sleep, I'll take that during a global crisis.
Yeah.
Well, hey, this is so cool. You're on here, and we're chit-chatting. We're going to have a good time. It's our marketing leadership series. We're going to talk about all the different things in marketing and how it applies to today, SEO, CRO, all sorts of different things. So I want to pass you this. It's kind of heavy, at least for me. It is. 2 hands. Okay, here's Thor's hammer. You got it?
Yep.
All right, cool. Go ahead, take that. Smash for me some kind of marketing myth. Boom, boom, there it is. Bogus strategy or misconception. It just drives you crazy. You want to set the record straight once and for all.
Oh, man, so many.
I know, right?
Yeah.
What's the smash?
I think that the one that I hate the most is something that really ties into a lot of other things that piss me off. So we'll just start with
let's do it.
This whole arbitrary B2B bucket versus B2C bucket that people put marketers into. I don't understand it. So I first kind of encountered this when I was applying for jobs, I think 4 or 5 years ago. And as you said, I've had a million jobs, so I've applied to a lot of them. And it's like, if you don't check all the boxes of having already done retail, people won't let you get to even the phone screen of a job interview. If you don't have the background of having worked with a physical product because you've got a B2B SaaS background, people don't give you the time of day or trust that you're going to be able to figure out how to market to someone who's, buying an item instead of a software from you. And so it's so short-sighted and weird. Like, you're still marketing to people in either case, and you're still trying to get people to take actions that lead to revenue, and you're still using similar acquisition channels like Facebook and search engine optimization and like all the same stuff. You're building communities, you've got a blog, you do events, like it's all the same. I don't understand what this mentality of like, you're B2B, so you can't do B2C, or I don't even know if people on the flip side have the flip side problem, but I don't understand it. And I think it kind of ties into my pet peeve in just being an English major, which is like the word user. Like, everyone in marketing says like user this, user that, like my users. And it's like, they're not users, like they're customers, but they're also just people. And people are marketers and people are customers, and like they're all just people, and B2C versus B2B is not really a thing. Like, yes, the tactics are slightly different. Yes, like the goals are slightly different, but it's the same intrinsically. So like, can we just pretend that like this isn't a thing anymore?
Yeah, right. Slightly different goals, slightly different tactics, you said, but then you listed off like 9 different things just off the top of your head that it crosses over. And I think sometimes people make statements, especially it bugs me when people are asked like, well, what's your favorite like software in this category? And they're like, this one's the best, everything else sucks. And they've only used that one. You're like, okay, well, but you've done B2B and B2C. You've been in both places. So you would be the right person to be able to say, is there actually a difference or not? What is similar, what is different? I mean, maybe what is different is a smaller list. So we should start there. Like, what is different? Like, if you were to really draw the lines, and then we can figure out if that's something that people can learn on the fly or not.
Yeah. So I think, given that B2B SaaS is my bread and butter for the past 10 years, when you're in that space, a lot of it is kind of couched around the concept of free trials. So a lot of these companies want to get someone to just take an action immediately on their homepage, which is like either sign up for a demo or like sign up for a free trial. Sometimes they require a credit card, sometimes they don't. But basically they're just trying to acquire you as a user, quote unquote, and get you into their dashboard to use their software. And then from there, they're trying to get you to engage with the features of the software to the point where you understand the value. And then they're trying to get you to convert to actually being a paying customer in most cases. And so the tactics there are, have a strong enough CTA at the front end so you get the person immediately when they're visiting. Once they're in the dashboard, give them enough information to know what the features are that you're offering and how they can use them. And then once they're in the system, reinforcing dashboard behaviors with emails, reinforcing them wanting to stay engaged with your product through like new features, communications, community, things like that, things that will retain them, and showing the value of your product to the point where they're going to be a repeat customer. And then you can kind of layer that with like spreading word of mouth on, getting them to get you more customers and things like that. And so I think it's very heavy on UX, like what is the user experience of your dashboard, and communication around like value that your product can drive for them, being very tactical about who you're talking to and what they care about. So depending on the verticals of who's using your product, are they an agency? Are they a brand? What do they want to get out of it? Like, not everyone's going to have the same reason for using your product. So just making sure that you can personalize the content you're giving them so that they can see the most value out of it. Because churn is a huge problem in B2B SaaS. Like, there's the number one killer, like they spend so much money acquiring these customers to get them into the dashboard, and then they kick the tires for 30 days and then they won't convert. And it's just like this giant hole in the bottom of the funnel. And so like your job should really be not so much acquiring customers as retaining the customers, because like that's where you lose your money.
Yeah. I mean, it took so much time and effort to get them, to have them just waltz out the back door after spending a month with you would be such a waste.
Yeah.
So
and then
true.
and then the B2C side, okay. So same thing. You've got someone visiting your website. Maybe they've heard about you on the radio. Maybe you got covered in TechCrunch, I don't know what, but people are there. So you're trying to, again, grab them with your branding, your messaging, your product positioning, letting them navigate easily around your website to find what they're looking for. So search is really important. Navigation is really important. You know, making it eye-catching so people will click on your best sellers or click on your highest value items. You want to get them to add to cart. So rather than B2B, where you want them to sign up for a trial or a demo, you're trying to get them to purchase. So you got to make it really, really easy for them to do that. Like find the product, add it to cart, easy checkout. So just let them convert instantly. So for this, it's more like, how are you smoothing the path of discovery? How are you compelling them to want to buy from you versus a competitor? You know, how are you building trust? Because there's so many products out there now that are like claiming to be one thing, but their shipping is terrible, or like their product comes and it's got threads loose on it, or, you know, like trust is so important now that everyone's a drop shipper. And so like really having like those customer testimonials, those proof points to say like, you know, people have been really happy with this product and you will be too, making sure that people know if they can buy from you or not. So this has been so frustrating to me. I moved from the US to Canada a year ago. I've been trying to buy these online products, and I'll get all the way from the homepage to the product page, add to cart, everything. I've curated this great shopping cart for myself. I get to the checkout. I've inputted my address. I've put in my credit card, and then it only has US in the drop down. It doesn't have Canada. And I'm like, I just wasted a half hour of my life. Like you should have told me.
It wouldn't ship to Canada?
No. And they don't tell you.
Geez.
So there are some homepages that don't tell you that. There are some FAQs that bury that information all the way down the bottom. So I, as the consumer, have to dig through like 2 to 3 pages or go all the way through the checkout to discover that I can't actually even buy these things. Why won't you just tell me that?
Seriously.
It's such a pet peeve. I didn't realize that Canadians have had to deal with this, but I'm so sorry to all Canadians. Like, they're not treating you well.
You went through that whole process.
Yeah.
You know, got the right sizes and made sure, okay, I really do want this. No buyer remorse going to happen now. Let's go ahead. And how far did you get? You got all the way to credit card?
All the way to like the last stage where you have to input where you want your billing and shipping. And then it's, so like, so now I've learned, you know, now as soon as I go to any page that I've clicked on through an Instagram ad or someone's told me about, like, I will just go straight to their FAQs and like, do they ship to Canada? And like, but that's sad. Like, I shouldn't have to, like, that should be up front and center. Like, it literally should be the banner on the top of the page. It's like, you ship to XYZ. Cause like, that's the first question is like, can I buy your thing?
Yeah. And like it would take no effort whatsoever to just detect that someone's from Canada, because we do it for GDPR and all other stuff. Detect they're from Canada, and they just say, yes, we do ship to Canada. And you're like, okay, great. Thank you. Sign me up. Here's the money.
Or they could even say like, we detect you're from Canada. We don't have an offering for you, but put your email in and we'll let you know when we do, because then they can start gathering intel. Like, should we be in Canada? Like, how much of a missed opportunity is this?
And maybe they're like, they read a Tim Ferriss book and they're like, oh, let's just see how many Canadians go all the way through to the end. But now you just
how many Canadians are going to go on a Twitter rant saying how stupid this setup is?
And even if it does become available, you may not be interested because you're like, you've already wasted a half an hour of my life.
Fuck
I don't
this company.
Yeah. Totally. Like, oh yeah, we've alienated half of Canada, but we now know the rest of it will buy. Great job. No one is going to buy now. You know, I loved how you mentioned both processes or processes, depending on where we're from.
Oh God.
Have you adopted the language yet? I haven't heard any A's yet.
No, it's funny. I've made fun of my husband the whole time we've known each other because he's Canadian and he'll say tomorrow and sorry and resources and said. Oh my gosh. So like, if you catch me doing that, please tell me.
right? If by the end you're like, oh, what's the process on that?
Oh,
What's the
God,
process,
no,
eh? Do you follow a nice process on that? Like, no, stop it. But suddenly for a second, all the Canadians were like, wow, Casey, finally we can understand you. We couldn't.
Oh, yeah. We really see ourselves in you.
Yes. We see the maple syrup from your pores. This is fantastic. So yeah, interesting. Just different ideas and crossing different boundaries, but generally the same. You're in one of the things that I circled on my notes as you were describing the different processes is that we should talk in Canadian accents this rest of the show. We should.
I'll try.
Do you know one time I did a meeting for my company because we were looking to expand into the UK, and so we did a whole company meeting talking about potentially expanding into UK in British accents, and we all made tea, and right now the UK listeners are like, oh, cheerio, right? And we talked. They were probably terrible accents, but after talking for like half an hour or 45 minutes nonstop to the company in that accent, I had a hard time stopping it. It was kind of interesting. So maybe at the end of this, your husband will be like, "Oh, you finally have converted."
I'm sure it'll be a gradual process.
Right. It may be. It may be
process.
Right. You know what? I'd like to get like an Irish accent. That'd be really cool.
Oh.
Or like Australian. People are like, oh, you're Australian. Come on, get in here. You're in the party now. But okay, so my earlier point was I circled this thing and it said quick actions, right? And it's like, oh, I know B2B, we want to get this huge company to buy this huge thing, but eat an elephant or climb Kilimanjaro. But actually, it's like little baby steps. So just because it's a big end goal doesn't mean that we have big steps along the way. And I know B2C has these little steps because it's like add to the cart and we want to make it as seamless as possible. Little tiny purchase for $30, little tiny action. But B2B has little actions too. And I think I even had kind of taken for granted that, oh, it's a big deal. Oh, getting someone to fill out a form or getting someone to take a demo. It's like, what's a little action we can get? Little free trial, little white paper download. So it's a good point that we don't have to try to, eat an elephant with like one bite. We can just, whether it's B2B or B2C, you want to get that ongoing relationship with a customer where they're constantly either making new purchases or making new steps forward.
Yeah, and I think the really interesting thing and something that I think B2B SaaS misses a lot in the marketing tactics is like, if you look at B2C, what they do extremely well is email. They'll capture your email. That's why you see all those pop-ups on the first page. They'll, as soon as you activate as like getting a new email address, they send you a welcome letter. It's all branded. It's beautiful. The copy is very thoughtful. They'll send emails every 3-4 days. They'll like have a letter from their CEO, or it'll be about how their customers are using the product to make their lives better. It's so well thought out, and it's because they know that the average order value will go sky high if they maintain this relationship. Like you make the first purchase, then they get you to upsell or buy more or tell your friends or have loyalty points, whatever it is. Like that is so tactical and smart, and they know it works well for them. The problem again with the whole B2C, B2B divide is B2B has not figured out email. B2B is so bad at it and like doesn't think that it's important, or like I've seen this over and over and over and over. It's like this side thought that sometimes they'll send out emails, but there's no real calendar or strategy as far as I've seen at most companies I've worked at. And it's such a missed opportunity. Why wouldn't you take this channel that you own? Like you don't own Facebook. You don't own any of these acquisition channels for the most part, but email is like, that's yours. No one can pry those email addresses from you. Right. So why aren't you doing everything you can to get juice out of that? It just boggles my mind.
No, I'm with you on that one. And you get those shitty emails. You're like, did you just like check the box today? Did you just phone it in?
Yeah, this is literally a template that you stole from a competitor and changed a few words around.
Yeah. Are you even trying? Is this for real? This is the best you could do? Seriously?
Yeah. Yep.
This is the best email you could write? What should you be in the circus instead? Are you in the wrong calling? Like this is a terrible email. Doesn't speak to me. I'm the buyer and I don't want this. Unsubscribe, spam. It's crazy. Yeah. Or the really long ones. That always gets me. Like you didn't convince me in one page, so I just need to keep scrolling. And eventually by the bottom of that, I will be convinced and I will buy your thing, whether it B2B or B2C. Like, oh, keep scrolling. I know you think we're fake, but just keep scrolling. By the time you get to the end, you'll trust us. Like, we'll build trust by bludgeoning you over the head with Thor's hammer,
Nobody has the time.
It's true. I mean, we got time now, but we still don't have time.
Nobody has time, dude.
That's true.
Like, I have a lot of friends in consulting and freelance that are like, it's so hard to get people to reply to email because they're so overwhelmed with their kids or their precarious work situation, or they've been laid off, or they can't handle the state of the world. And you can't assume that people have more free time. They actually either don't, or they just don't know what to do with themselves, and they can't take decisive actions anymore. And I was actually sitting in on a webinar yesterday where they were talking about this, and it was about sales tactics in the time of COVID. I was like, you can't just ask people how they're doing, because some people are legit suicidal, and that's not the conversation you're trying to have. You're trying to sell them something, and they're going to be like, oh my God, like my grandmother just died, and like my kids are driving me crazy, and like I lost my job. And like, you can't do what was working before, or I doubt that tactic really worked that well to begin with. Right. So it's like, you've got to change pace. You've got to figure out how to market and sell in a way that isn't going to lead to people hating you or trying to take advantage of the situation, or like, it's so fraught with landmines.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I think the assumption that people have more free time now is like erroneous.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Whose course was that? Was that Barrow's or someone else?
Actually, Barrow was on it.
Oh, no
it
kidding.
Was I've been sitting in on so many things. I would have to look up what it was. It was literally yesterday, and yesterday feels like a month ago. Yeah. It was a bunch of, let me think about it. I can look it up for you. Hold on.
Yeah, no worries.
I can't believe I can't remember what happened yesterday morning. Like, that is just a sign of the times.
That's how it was before COVID. So you can imagine. Wait, what's your name again? Look at my notes. What's going on?
Dude, okay. It was, okay. So Alice, ALYCE, is doing this really amazing online summit called 5 to 9, where everyone who has a 9-to-5 job and they're known for like their marketing skills and their sales skills and everything, it's like, what are they actually passionate about after work? And so they're highlighting different people's skill sets outside of that. And then they're also talking about how their 9-to-5 has been impacted by everything that's going on. So they had a panel discussion yesterday where they had some salespeople talking about like how people have been responding to being like reached out to in this time, and what's working, what's not, like what are the metrics, like are people seeing a dip in engagement, all that stuff. It was really fascinating. So props to Alice. Like I'm not in sales, but I sales and marketing in the best situations are very closely aligned. And so I'm always curious about, what that side of acquisition looks like. And it was just really, really thoughtful and really nice to hear people sharing, like, it's a struggle. And I feel like everyone wants to hear the success stories, but like hearing the failures or the challenges is actually more genuine and helpful in most cases.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you learn more from the failures. When things are going right, you're like, I'm amazing. And you may or may not be, but you get to find out if you really are when things aren't going well.
Yeah. I mean, the companies that say they're crushing it right now, I'm like, either you're really deluded or like you're 1 in a billion, like I really don't think I believe you.
Well, it's weird, right? I think it's kind of a myth too that nobody's buying. And we can kind of like fall in the trap of being like, oh, no one's buying, but actually there are industries that are buying. And I mentioned this the other day. My friend Lou Gudima, he had this post where it was like, he asked people, are you freezing your marketing spend or not? And something like 55% of them had said some kind of answer that was like, yes, in a different time period, like now, for a month, for 2 months. And then I was like, dude, can you send me the list of the 46% that said they were still on, like Donkey Kong? And so that was one thing. But I've had some conversations with people in the finance world, health, life science, some consumer products, right? Where they're just going crazy. One guy was like, my best month ever was last month. So that'd be a great customer to reach out to. Whereas to your point, asking the people that are selling travel stuff right now or Airbnb, how are things going? Not so good, right? So it's weird because it's not everyone. But the good news is that we don't have to stop our marketing, stop our work and all that. But there's something you mentioned about asking, don't ask like, how are you doing? unless you mean it, right? And I think this is showing whether companies really care or not. Because in the past, you'd be like, how you doing? And people are like, oh, great. How are you? Great. And now we've done our like thing where we can now talk about business. But if you ask, how are you doing? And people are just like, here's how I'm actually doing. And you don't give a shit. And you're just like, great, I'm doing good too. So here's my product. They're going to be like, asshole, I'm out. Right. Or you could listen. And maybe that's an opportunity to build rapport if you have the time. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, how do you, okay, like even if I do listen to the answer, but I have a quota, like how am I going to pivot from them being like dejected and feeling horrible to like buy my widget, you know?
Yeah. You know what'll really help your depression? This thing I've got, right?
This shit I'm shoveling.
That'd be a great hashtag, like worst COVID sales lines ever.
Oh, I'm sure there's somewhere on the internet that
And
has
if
a
not, there should
repository.
be.
No, let's start it.
Let's do it right after this podcast, if we remember.
Done.
Yeah, like the caring, right? And I was seeing a lot of the different ads. One email I ranted on LinkedIn about was like, we care about you, which is like my company, one of our core values. So like it matters when people abuse it, like, oh, we care. Here's some spam. And the email that I got was, we care. Here's our pricing list. I was like,
Oh,
I hate you guys. I hate you. Don't do that. It's just so wrong.
Yeah. I saw a retailer. First of all, I don't remember ever giving them my email. So that's a whole other story. But
right.
they were like, they sell jewelry, but they decided to start selling N95 masks. And I was like, okay, so you're taking these away from doctors who need them to sell them to private citizens who don't like,
need
what
them.
Kind of tone deaf crap is that? I was like,
Right.
I was livid. I actually posted it on Twitter. I was like, this is not cool. And they were price gouging to boot. Like they were charging way too much.
Totally. Yeah. And it's like, ew, gross. Like a bunch of vultures swooping in. Hyenas like, ooh, let me sell some face masks. No, don't all.
It was like charm necklaces and then N95 masks. I was like, this is just cognitively so disturbing.
It wasn't Charming Charlie, was it, or something like that? Because they'd be like,
no,
freaking out.
If you really want to find out, just look at my Twitter.
Okay, exactly. What's your Twitter?
It's Attack of the Text.
Got it. All one word? Do we have underscores?
Oh no, all one word.
Okay, we'll put that in the show notes too. People can go find out who these troublemakers are. But like it's like, do you really care or not? And I think this time more than anything will show if you do or not. If you don't, it's not good. But don't fake. As long as you don't fake it, it's almost like no harm. Like we assume you don't care about us. We assume you're just trying to sell us shit. And that's if you so just sad. keep doing you during this thing, fine. But if you're like, oh no. We care about your safety. Oh, how are you doing? Touching advertisement with music and applause, right? And then it's like, oh, so buy my thing. I'm like, I hate you. I'm blocking you from my mind,
So it's very similar. I don't know how familiar you are with like femvertising, but it's this whole
tell me about it.
Oh my God. Okay. Again, like this is like a pain point. As a woman, I am marketed to very heavily with like women products and like women empowerment and women can do anything they want. Women, the future, whatever, feminism. But it's not real. Like the company does not give two shits about me as a woman. They care about me being a walking wallet with legs. And so I got this email this is so funny. Again, don't know how they got my email.
Right.
KY, like the lubricant company.
Oh shit.
Their Canadian branch for International Women's Day sent me an email. And it's like, we support you from the bedroom to the boardroom, and we like think women are amazing. And if you want something done, ask a woman. And it was like all this jargon and bullshit and sentences that made me literally like snort into my coffee and like send it to all my friends. And I was like, what fresh hell is this? Like, I'm not, what? Like the opposite effect of what they intended, I'm sure. They wanted everyone to be like, yeah, I'm a woman, hear me roar. I'm going to go out and buy lube.
So weird.
What?
That is so weird.
It's like all these companies that want to pretend like they're your friend and pretend like they support you. Like, were they actually they weren't like donating to women's causes or anything that would
Right.
lead me to believe they actually cared. They were just trying to like get on the bandwagon of International Women's Day to sell
Ugh.
their products. So my friend Katie Martell actually has this whole movement called Pandermonium, where she like talks about companies that pander to different demographics, and like she will call them out if they do stuff like that, which I
Yeah.
love, because she's just like, you can't make a buck off the backs of people that you're not actually supporting. Like, put your money where your mouth is. Like, you, if you are going to walk the walk, then like actually show it. Like, you're not going to profit off of saying that you support women and then actually, like, if you look at the pay gap in their corporate branch, it's like
Sure.
totally ridiculous. Or like there are no women executives, or like if you actually dig into the companies that are pushing this agenda, they're like mostly just full of shit. So it's
Yeah.
like same thing, like, you know, if you're going to be sending out this outreach where you're like fake empathetic or fake whatever, people are going to see that from a mile away, and it's just going to bite you in the ass. Or even if it doesn't, it's not good for your business.
Right. Right. What a miss for KY. Like if they had like made it kind of like a winky face where they were being ridiculous, kind of like the Virgin brand when he's like on a plane dressed as a flight attendant being weird. You're like, he's not, I don't think he's paying. I think he's just weird. I think he's just being like his goofy self. And you're like, okay, you guys are goofy. All right. But like, if they made it too serious, like if they, or to your point, if they'd been like, haha, and then at the bottom it was like, I know, but we're actually donating, and you know, $1 from every bottle or something, then you'd be like, oh, I got to forward this to my friends. It's like it got the right result, but it got like a brand hit, a negative hit to that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, it read like an Onion article. Like it was
Yeah.
so stereotypical and bad that I just like, I was like giggling and sending it to people, but in the wrong way. Like I can give you an example of a good one.
Yeah.
Is there's a retailer in Canada, but also I think they have a US store called Knix. It's Knix, and they are a women-led company. They do women's products. It's like bras that are comfortable and underwear that's good for your period. They're leak proof. It's great. Like the branding is great. The products are great. Like the leadership is awesome. And they did this campaign where they're like, you know, we're tired of Victoria's Secret, where like every model is like 5'10" and like so skinny, and like not everyone who shops for bras like needs a push-up bra, because some of us have really big boobs, and some of us like don't need like these like
You're kind of calling it
strappy
what it
crazy
is,
lacy
right?
things. And like everyone has different bodies, so like why don't we see that in advertising for lingerie? And so they did this campaign where they had all of the people in the photo shoot were like over 50, different body types, different like just walks of life, like diversity, like everything. Like it was like exactly what you want to see. And I like, they got so much kudos from their community and from people who had never heard of the product before, because they actually put real people on their like their commercials, their like their all their marketing. It was just beautiful, like because you can see yourself in that, and you can say, I know what this bra is going to look like because there's someone else with like, I'm sorry, 36 double D. Like people have cup sizes that aren't B, and like it's every time I shop for anything, like it's like, why don't I see people who look like me? Because I'm not going to buy it, because it's not going to look the same on me as someone who's like this size 0. And it's just so refreshing to see a brand that is all about women, but like actually celebrates women, like all different types of women. And so like that's where my wallet's gonna go. It's not gonna be the KY Lube. It's gonna be like Knix and their amazing mission to actually celebrate humans in all shapes and sizes.
That's
ages.
Cool. That's really cool. What a cool example. I'm like in knix.com. And and I pulled it up. You know, one of the concerns I had though is like, you know, why do the other brands do the thing? Like Victoria's Secret is just, oh, look at our, you know, size 0 or whatever. And they're thinking that everyone will look at that person. And same from men's side too, right? Look at this like stud Thor's hammer over here guy. You want to be like him. So buy this underwear. I don't know if it works as well for men, but it's like, do they miss out on that sort of like sex appeal or like that dream? I want to be that person if they put like a regular person in there. But then you mentioned the second point, which is the concern you'd have of like, am I even going to fit that? Those people aren't me. Am I really their customer? You know? And I think Nix is saying to you and to other people, like, no, the actual woman, like actual real people, you're all, not photoshopped or anything. You will fit us. We fit you. That's cool. I really like that.
Yeah. And it's like, I have so much to say on the subject of like doing things because you've always done them the same way or because it's easier. Like, I think every company I've ever worked for, every company ever, basically, like, the tempting thing is like follow the playbook, do things the way they've always been done, like shoot for the short-term strategies where we're going to hit our numbers instead of like investing in long-term strategies that are harder.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of brands, they just do the status quo because like they know what the results can be expected from, and they're reluctant to experiment. They're reluctant to spend money on things that aren't guaranteed ROI. They're reluctant to do long-term strategies like content marketing because they're not going to get the revenue from day one.
Right.
It's going to be like 3, 6, 9 months down the line. They're going to do the photo shoots with the models because that's how all the big successful brands do it. They're worried that they're going to alienate like the influencers or the really rich people that are the target. I don't know why you wouldn't just use real people, but no, it's a good question. But it's harder. Like it's hard to put your money where your mouth is, and most people want to pay lip service without actually doing the real work. So that's why it's such a missed opportunity, because like there's so few brands that actually stand out. And now that everybody's got their Shopify and everyone's going online, even though they're brick and mortar before all this happened, like it's more crucial than ever that you stand for something that's real, that you actually put the work into like aligning with your customers and actually stand for something, right? And so I know every customer, like Target now is like, oh yeah, millennials, and they shop their values, and like people are trying to capitalize on all these reports that are coming out about like why people buy when they're like the 30 to 40 bracket. And it's like, okay, you can't just like surface level try to benefit from that. Like unless you actually commit, like people are not stupid. We all grew up in digital realms. Like at least, I was an 80s kid. So like I grew up on the internet. Like I can smell your bullshit from a mile away.
Part of it, right? Did you always have it? Did you always have it?
No, I got my first AOL CD when I was 13, and I put it into
so you had that time where you were like not wired into.
I was a free range roamer of my outdoor neighborhood and had real like friends that I lived next door to, and and then it all changed.
And you were around for like having to pay hourly for internet and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, dial up, chat rooms.
Do you ever get in trouble at home of like they get the AOL bill and they're like, what the hell? How did we spend $60 on the internet this month? It was supposed to be $20. Like, sorry.
It was always a bargaining thing. It was like, I'll do my homework if I can have, X amount of time with my friends on the forums.
And like people hearing that now be like, what?
No, it's like, Mom, no, like I'll come up for dinner after I change my AIM message. Jesus.
I gotta put my away on. Come on.
Yeah, I gotta be clever. 1 second.
People will think I'm ignoring them, and they'll ban me and they'll warn me.
Oh my God, yeah. Those were the days.
You mentioned the short-term gains, and I wonder if that's even something that KY was thinking. Like, okay, short-term gain, let's just sell a bunch of shit, and then don't worry about the long-term impact on our brand. And then as you're describing that, my brain just sort of like went to like Dove, because I know they've done some commercials in the past where it's like real people, kind of like Nix, it sounds like, where it's like real women. And you're like, yeah, that's cool. But then when I Google searched it to try to find it, it popped up this sort of Dove puts a new face on real beauty and a salute to health workers. And it's just like, and they show pictures of health workers. Yeah, I had that same kind of thing where I was like, my question to you is, can you do anything now that ties into that, or are you just pandering?
You are pandering, but okay. So this is the thing, is like, okay, you can have social impact as part of your mission and do it the right way, which I think is like quietly go about supporting the cause. And if people find out about it or buy into it, cool. But it can't be like the thing. Like it cannot be like you're selling the same thing as everyone else, except you are like, oh yeah, we stand for X. So what's really interesting is there was this whole Everlane backlash because they like touted as like they're so sustainable and they're so transparent and their pricing is so upfront and everything, and then it blew up in their face because they were like accused of union busting and like not treating their employees well, and like Bernie Sanders tweeted at them and was like, this is not the way, you know, a big business like yours should be conducting themselves, essentially. And so like they had been bragging about how profitable they were for years, because they were just like this big success story in the B2C space. And then they turned around and were like, oh yeah, we had to lay off a bunch of workers because we're not profitable. And it's like, well, which one was it? Okay, so that's really suspicious. Like, okay, were you just lying about making profits, or are you like what is the actual, like, you're not being transparent, like there's something a little bit off about this whole situation. So like the problem is they set themselves up so high for being transparent that now the fall from that is like so much worse than if they had not claimed to be this like upstanding you know, company where they're like their mission and their values were so strong. And so it's like, you can't just have your mission that's like socially impactful be the only thing, because if you don't actually commit to it, you know, people are going to know. And I think the better way to do it is like, it has to be part of your DNA. It has to be part of the reason you create the company. And so I have a really good example, actually. So there's a company that's Toronto based called Nudnik. So it's Nudnik, and like it's these two women who are sisters, and their father was in waste management. So they spent like decades of their lives in waste management as well. And they kept seeing like these fast fashion brands where like everything ends up in a landfill and how bad for the environment that is. And they're like, let's start a company where like our clothes are made from recycled products, and they're fashionable, and they're fun to wear, and they're for children, but they're also not taking resources from the planet, and they're actually like helping the environment and trying to kind of build this sustainable model. And so like the reason that works is like they actually care about that mission, and they've seen the impact firsthand. And it's not all they talk about when they market either. It's one thing they talk about, but there's like other components to their marketing. And so like I could shop from there because I care about what they care about, but I could also shop from there because their clothes are actually really great. Or like, it's not just one thing, and it's not just lip service. Like I can tell they actually are really passionate, and it's in their ethos. It's not just a thing that they're saying to sell products.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I Googled it. You're right. They got these t-shirts that are made from the different fabrics that other people would just chuck. And it's to your point, it's part of their DNA. It's so true. I was just reading about Crocs. Apparently they donated, like, there was an email here, 10,000 clogs to healthcare workers, which is awesome. But then I also read that they paid an Indian actress to tweet about it, to chat about it. So it's like, is that okay?
Like, can't you just do the good thing?
Right?
Like, if you really care about doing the good thing, just do the good thing and don't like brag about it. Like, that's the problem. That is the problem in a nutshell, is like, you're just doing the thing for the recognition of the thing, not because you actually believe you're doing the right thing or because you want to help, or like maybe you're hoping, I don't know, it's probably all PR. It's probably like guys at KY Canada were like, let's have a Women's Day, and they like threw it on their marketing team, who had to like hustle to get something out there because someone decided it was a good idea, and like they thought it would be good PR. And then same thing with this, like Crocs is probably like, yeah, let's like get viral with our donation campaign and like use influencers to push it. And so like maybe they did it out of the goodness of their heart and then it went south, or maybe they just were trying to be strategic all along. But like, people are not stupid, so like we know that this is what you're trying to do. And like, if you're not doing it out of the goodness of your heart, don't pretend that that's what you're doing then, you know, like I don't know.
Yeah, like, but if they only had said like, okay, are there any influencers out there? If you will share this, we will donate 1,000 more Crocs in your name. You know? Like,
there you go.
I'll do that.
Own it. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
And then that influencer might be a little self-promoting by doing it, but that's okay because they're helping people too. And then Crocs gets away clean and free because all they're doing is just trying to help people out. But when you start paying for attention on that, you're like, just disappointing. I don't know. It just feels a little weird, icky.
Yeah, agreed.
Man, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. What do you think the future holds for marketing, for humanity?
That's a really big question.
Start with marketing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's really funny. Hold on. It's really funny. Everyone's had to hit the reset button. Like everyone who was planning for 2020, everyone who had a Q1 plan, anyone who had a Q2, Q3, Q4 plan, it's like
out the door.
Out the door. Everyone's kind of scrambling. I don't think we can necessarily even forecast right now. And I think we have to be okay. Like you can have a plan or a strategy, but everyone's pivoting so quickly that it's really hard to know what to focus on or anticipate. I will say, from reading, I try to stay away from thought influencers and leaders, and like I don't.
You try to stay away from them?
Yeah, like I don't worship at the altar of any one personality. I know that's like a big thing is everyone reads the same 5 books or they read the same 5 blogs or listen to the same 5 podcasts, and I try not to do that because I don't want to have
email.
We all get the same. No, but it's like this hive mind in business, in startups, in tech, in marketing, in sales. Like it's like everyone listens to the same people and quotes the things at each other, and it's like it's exhausting to try to keep up with. And so like I try not to read trends pieces or forecasts because I'm like, it's all the same garbage every year. Everyone's like, it's the year for video this year. And then it's like, okay. Or, SEO is dead. No, it's not. Like Facebook advertising's dead. No, it's not. Like SEO is dead. No, it's not. Like it's just so I can't really speak to that. I have sort of from the things that I've been sitting in on where it's virtual conversations, which I enjoy a lot more, like community is going to be like, I already think it's like the unsung hero of a lot of building the right brands and companies. So I think it will hopefully have its day in the sun where it's respected the way it should be. I think again, like people do things because they think they're supposed to. I'm going to launch a blog because I know that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to like have a community because everyone says it's good for me, like I should.
Right.
But they launch without a plan and they don't stick to it and they don't see it out long enough for it to prove value, and they have their metrics all wrong. And it's like, all right, like I want page views on my blog. Okay, page views, fine, but like what's your bounce rate? Like are people actually reading? Are they actually scrolling down? Like it should really be time on page that you're looking at if you're really caring about engagement. And then in terms of like, did someone click on the next thing? Well, are you giving them enough value to click on the next thing? Like if your ultimate goal is sign up for my free trial, like are you actually giving them good, valuable, engaging content, or are you just giving them search engine optimized garbage, right? Like don't have a blog if you're not actually going to be useful with it. And then on the community side, is like, all right, I've like made this big beautiful forum or channel for people that are customers or prospects to talk to each other, and I've got a moderator. Like what are you giving them? What is the purpose of this? Like are you trying to get them to talk to each other? Are you trying to get them to like engage with you? Are you building programming exclusive to this community? Like what value are you offering? But the problem with all that is like, okay, I put in the work for that. If all you want out of this community is new customers or referrals, people again are not stupid. They can see that a mile away. So it's like, I've gathered you here out of the goodness of my heart, but could you please just like give me your business? And it's like, if you do it well, if you do it without that agenda, if you just do it to like help people, they will love you and they will talk about you organically. But no one gives it the time to do that. It's all like, what is my ROI from the time or the money I'm spending building this? And so again, like it's so hard to do the right thing, and I totally get it. But if all you care about is the dollars attached to this feel good thing you're doing, like I can't help you.
Seriously. Yeah. It's you can perceive it. It just eeps out. It seeps out. There's a couple things you just sort of a bunch of mic drop moments. And I was like, oh, we could clip that and use that on social. Then I was like, oh, but then my dumb self chimed in and was like, oh yeah. But like don't have a blog if you're not going to be useful with it. That's so true. Like in your whole point about people just doing things because it's on their marketing checklist or their competitors are doing it, but they may be wasting all of their time on a blog, and especially if you're not tracking it, you don't have, marketing automation set up or something where you can you can see, is this leading to sales? Is this actually helping people? To your point, hey, I've got 1,000 hits, but they immediately bounce off that page because that is not the droids they're looking for. They don't want this article. Like, okay, you can spend a lot of time writing an article on LinkedIn and have like 14 people read it. And if it's bad, no one else is going to read it. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Like, I was talking to a friend about her website, and what's great is, like, I've worked at a website company and I've also worked at a website optimization company. So I was sort of doing an analysis of her homepage and her services pages because she's a consultant. And one thing she asked me is, she's like, do I need a blog? And I said, okay, well, like, what is the purpose of this blog? How often, how much time would you have to populate it with content? And she was like, well, I kind of would do it in fits and starts when I was inspired, and I said, listen, like, if you're going to commit to having a blog, you need to have a strategy around what you're talking about, how often you're going to publish. It's worse to have a blog that you launch where it looks like a ghost town than like not having a blog at all. So if you are not going to commit the time that this takes to build, like, just don't do it. Like, I would rather, like, there's so many blogs out there. So just, if it's not going to be a standout blog where you're actually really putting a lot of time and effort into it, just don't do it. Like, and it's great. I mean, she's got LinkedIn that she puts content on. She's got a Facebook group. Like, she's doing the other things that she cares about, that she's devoting time to. So it's like, don't just slather on another thing just to say you have it. I think this is something I see a lot with social media. Like, every new shiny channel, like TikTok or Snapchat or whatever, people are like, oh yes, my brand must be on this. And like, now they're on 8 channels and they're like doing a little bit on each one, or they're like creating things and then dropping them. And then if you go to their footer, it's like, you click on their Pinterest or their Google Plus group or whatever from past shiny things, and it's like, they're not even active anymore. So like, why even have that on your site at that point? So it's like, pick 2 or 3 things and do them really well. And don't think like you have to be on everything, because first of all, that's exhausting. Second of all, you're not going to be good at every channel. Third of all, like, not your audience isn't on every channel either. So like, figure out where your audience is and commit to those channels and like really specialize, because it's not worth your time to just create things because you think you should.
Right. Totally. And you hop on those, especially in social, like, it's in your face. So you could be bad at your blog, and so true. You get to a site and it's like, oh, you haven't blogged for 6 months. Is this company still even open? Now you're stuck. You have to do something. And if you just sort of half-ass it and you send a little easy thing in there, and they look at it and they realize how cheesy and lame you are, then that doesn't help either. But now you're required to continue to do that. So that's stressful. And then on the social side, man, getting into one of those platforms and you don't know about it, and you're just kind of tiptoeing in there to try to sell more on Instagram or something. It's just, everyone's going to know you're like the weirdo who doesn't get that channel. And what's up with that, right? Your point, don't go randomly make a TikTok channel.
No, it's like, how are you doing, fellow kids? Like,
right? Hello. Want to buy my product?
Oh my God.
Weird. So crazy. Are you on TikTok?
No.
Have you ever been on TikTok?
I have
seen it.
I've been shown many a TikTok video, but
you've been shown them. Hey, look at this. Right?
So here's the thing. Like, I used to do Vine. So Vine is old. Like the 6-second, right? I'm old.
Last year.
No, Vine was like what, 2010?
Yeah, last year.
I don't know, a long time ago. But like, I did Vine, so I've done the short form, like cutaway, creative kind of thing, and then honestly, like, I'm so tired. Like, I can't try every channel. Like, it's not possible to keep up. And if I have the free time and the energy, I will create a TikTok account and play around with it. But like, I don't have the time. And again, I don't have to be, I feel like marketers feel like they have to be good at everything. And like, I don't, unless I have a client that wants me to TikTok for them, then yes, like, I will learn it. But I have the intellectual curiosity to want to play around with it, but I don't have the energy or time right now to like adopt another channel. It's enough to try to keep up with all the updates to Instagram, all the updates to everything else. Like, it's funny, like, my mother uses WhatsApp a lot,
Really?
And she'll WhatsApp me. Well, she's South American, so like WhatsApp is really big in
Oh,
our
it's huge
family for
yeah,
them to connect with each other. And she'll send me these messages and get mad when I don't respond. And I'm like, Mom, I'm checking my email, my Twitter, my LinkedIn, my like everything. Like I have like 7 channels, and like I can't keep checking WhatsApp for you. Like just text me. Like I check my text, you know, like I can't do another channel. And it's like anytime anyone's like, download House Party, download, I'm like, okay, if enough of you scream at me that I have to try this, maybe I will. But like, it's so much work to check all these things all the time. It's just, it's too much.
Totally. You know, I remember being at, I think it was like a church group, and we were all just kind of, none of us hung out afterwards. So I was like, hey, we should have a Facebook page. We get to know different parents. Our kids are all in the same CCD class or whatever. We should have a Facebook page. And then someone was like, oh yeah, we're all gonna get the insert random church app that unites random communities.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I'm not gonna use that. No one's gonna use that. You know, like, no, I just knew it was doomed. I was like, okay, never mind. You know, if it was on a platform I'm already on, now we're talking. But no, some random, I'm gonna go get some other app and then check in on that to see how my friends are. It's not gonna happen. You're right, like just another platform. And you know, it sounds like you got your Vine perfected, only to have them be like, "Yep, we're not doing this anymore." It's like my MySpace
on my
Vines. Yeah, right.
I know my live journal, like all the time I put it into. I mean, it's still around. Like I can still go down that black hole of like emo things I was listening to in college.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing too is like there's even subsections now, like Slack. All right, Slack is a channel that I check regularly. I have literally 22 Slack channels that I'm part of, like groups.
Shit.
So like I'm not active on all of them.
I'm like
but, like
6 or something, 7 maybe.
It's like
22.
It's a I could show you a screen. Like it's literally, and I'm not like I don't check all of them all the time. I'm very active in maybe like 3 to 5. But even that, like that's it's like checking 5 social media channels in one. So it's like whenever I'm like on my phone, it's like, okay, check my email, check my Twitter, check my Instagram, check my LinkedIn, then go to Slack, and then subsections of Slack. Like it is a job.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I had 2 friends invite me to just like a chat. So there's the 3 of us chatting like directly on one of the Slack channels. And they got going when I was on like a podcast or something the other day. And I look and it says like 27 messages. So it's oh, that's their conversation that I guess a part of. And it's like, oh, let's go catch up on, but I'm not going to catch up on that. And I could see how, now I understand why you closed your Slack down, or at least you put it on mute, because if that's blowing you up during a podcast, you'd be like, hold on a second, I've got some Slack to reply to here.
Yeah. And it's like, it's so interesting because now we're in this space. We're actually for the first time in my experience in this digital age, like we have the capacity to stop and slow down. Like we could literally, like we're not going into our offices, we're not traveling. Like this is the biggest opportunity I've ever seen to digitally detox and turn your phone off, turn your laptop off, just read a book, like go outside for fresh air, like connect with the people you live with, like just like be present. And I feel like everyone's just going batshit instead, trying to consume so much content and like follow the news and like just like and it's like this Zoom burnout now where everyone's like so saturated with video and talking and paying attention and just like reacting and not giving them this space to feel the way they're feeling, whether they're stressed or angry or anxious or, you know, like it's like this whole, like, this is the biggest opportunity I've seen to actually like turn it off for even just a half day or a day. And actually I did there's an event called Fireside Conference where it's literally you go into the woods and they don't take your phone away. There's just no signal. So you don't have your phone. And some people were like, oh my gosh, it was, it's like adult summer camp. So you're like in a cabin and there's fires every night and people just chatting and singing and like their keynotes. And it's just like so cool. And at first it felt weird because everyone's got this compulsive like need to check things all the time. But it's like, I didn't miss it. I didn't miss it at all. I actually was dreading the point where my bus left the camp and like the cell phone reception started back. I was like, fuck, like those little red chime things and the and the vibrating. I was like, fuck. And I'd forgotten to tell my mom I was doing it. So she'd actually she texted texted me like the day I left, and then she called me the next day and it went to voicemail, and then she like texted me again on Saturday.
I
and
thought
it's
you
like,
were dead.
she thought I was dead because I didn't respond in like 2 days. Like she was like convinced I had like died, and she actually called my husband to make sure that I was okay.
Of course. I'm surprised
But
she
it's
waited
just
that
like,
long.
it's like, even if you don't push the pressure on yourself to respond to everything right away, like other people expect you to like email back within 24 hours or like respond to the text, and like they'll be like, where are you? Like even strangers on LinkedIn will message me and they'll be like, hey, Juliana. And like, I know they're trying to sell me something. I won't respond. They'll be like, hello. I'm like, I don't know you shit, dude. I've never met you before in my life. Like, I wouldn't even have an SLA like that with my best friends. Like, they understand my time and like will let me have my space to respond to them when I can't. Like, this is crazy.
Right. Wow. Just blowing you up. No, seriously, I want to know. Do you want to buy? No, I don't.
Go away.
I want to see if you got my message from a day ago. Oh, the one that I marked as spam? Well,
Did you get that thing I sent you? Oh, no, I did not. No, I did not.
Yeah, and the little alerts though start popping up, but yeah, I could see how just without that, as long as you got, next time you tell your mom that you're gonna be away, but then other than that, you just sort of more present, more present in the moment, not thinking about the email you should check, or I wonder if anyone's written me a note on Instagram. I'm gonna go check that. No one has. Okay, let me scroll for a moment. It's like, no, where are you at now? Is it comfortable? Is there bark and trees around you with a campfire and s'mores? Like, do it. Stay there.
It was so nice.
Well, who are you? Can you like you have all this knowledge and wisdom. You're a world traveler. You speak so many different languages, which we'll have to get into. Who are you? Take us back to like little Juliana days. What's up?
I was a giant geek, and
Juliana.
I shouldn't even say was, but
right.
I was a library nerd. I would be one of those kids who would go in and talk to the librarian for like a half hour about like Roald Dahl, and then leave with the maximum amount of books that I was allowed, and take them home and then devour them under the covers with my flashlight until one of my parents would yell at me. And there was one point in school where we were supposed to leave for recess, and I was like sitting at my desk still finishing a chapter, and my teacher was like, go outside now. And I was like, okay.
Dang
but it's funny, I wasn't like an indoor kid. Like, I played soccer, I was active, but like in my soul, I just love the written word. So like I just devoured authors, and I was all about like stories. And so it's really been like the core of who I am. Like, I have so many books in my spare room, and every time I've moved, I've had like, they're so heavy. It's like, okay, like I understand Kindle is a thing and now I could read electronically, but there's something so satisfying about like physical books, and you feel like more connected to what you're reading, and it's just like so satisfying to turn a page.
It is, for sure.
And so what's really interesting is, so I got my major in English, and at the time everyone's like, oh, liberal arts, like what are you going to be, a teacher, go into publishing? And it was like, dude, no, like I don't have a plan. I've never had a plan, but like I know I love this, so I'm just going to study it and like immerse myself in Victorian literature. And there was this one class I took in the honors program that was like, it was called Figures of the In-Between, Ghosts, Vampires, and Angels. And I thought that was like so fucking cool that I got to like read like Dracula and then analyze like the structure of it. And I don't know, it was just so neat. And then lo and behold, okay, so like liberal arts major, haha, what are you going to do with that? Content marketing became a thing, and social media became a thing, and the written word became so important and cool. 100%. Like now I have this amazing career that I accidentally stumbled upon because like people need content, like they need blog posts, they need tweets, they need video, they need things that communicate what they're trying to sell in a way that people resonate with. And so I accidentally kind of built my career off of like being an editor at the school newspaper, being a proofreader at a pharmaceutical journal, kind of behind the scenes stuff, but then sort of gradually working my way into like email marketing, and then content marketing, and then advertising marketing, and then website marketing, and then optimization of websites, and then like fintech marketing. So it's just sort of, I never had a plan. I kind of just did what sounded cool or I could learn from. And what's really interesting in retrospect, so like Sheryl Sandberg has this amazing quote where she's like, not every career has to be a ladder. Sometimes it's a jungle gym. So in my case, like I sort of jumped around from the monkey bars to the ball pit to whatever. And when I look back at it, and I've been trying to explain my experience to people, especially recruiters, it's like I accidentally became this generalist where I worked at a content marketing platform. I worked at an ad tech company. I worked at a like CRM company. So I understand the slices of marketing, email marketing, content marketing, like how to have a direct response campaign, how to retarget, how to all that. Just because I had to build content for companies that do these things. And in order to write as an expert on this subject matter that I had no expertise on, I actually had to do a ton of research, listen to a ton of people, talk to like network, like just get the sense of the lay of the land. And so every job I've had, I had no business marketing it because I had no idea what it was, but I had enough people trust me as an intelligent human to figure it out. And so like, that's the great thing about startups, right? Like they'll give you a chance because they're not like the major players and they need scrappy people who can just throw themselves into things and figure it out as they go along. And so that's been the really cool things. Now my arsenal is crazy. Like I can do a little bit of everything, but I also specialize in content. And I also have the B2B background, but I've had like, it's in the service of B2C customers. So I've got like that lens on it. And what's great is I don't make assumptions the way I think a B2C marketer might, where they're like, oh yeah, I've done this, and this to get this result. So I'm going to keep doing this, and this to get the result. Like I don't have that assumption. So it's kind of nice. Like I am fascinated by B2C, but I am in no way, shape or form an expert on D2C marketing. But I could be. So yeah, it's just really, it's a neat time to be a generalist. It's a neat time to be in marketing. I think it's a skill set that is always going to be valuable. I do think community is the future, but people need to do it the right way. That'll be the caveat. And I think the world is any person who's good at marketing's oyster. Like it's anything you want it to be. Like marketers are constantly evolving with their skill sets, with their channels, with their, as things are created, like we're like at the forefront of exploring. And so it's like, I think voice search will be huge. It's really early days, but my friend works at VoiceFlow and they are a Google partner. And what they do is they help people optimize their content for like someone asking Siri for something. And so I really think that's going to be enormous and something that no one's really talking about, but give it a year or two. And I think anyone who's early adopting that tactic will see dividends.
Yeah. There's also all these different things going on.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like, what do you focus on, right? Sure. That's the key challenge in marketing. It's the key challenge in startups. Anything where you're like, I could do 30,000 things. Like, what are the 5? You know, and I think everyone's got the shiny object syndrome where it's like, we should have a podcast. We should be at events. We should have a billboard. We should advertise on the radio. It's like, okay, how is this mapping to the goals we've all agreed on? How are we going to track the success of this? Like, is this more important than the other 3 things we said we were doing this quarter? So I think that's a really big area where a lot of people struggle.
For sure. And you said generalist, and I think you generally do have the experience across the board, but also that written word background, you know, the English, and I think, you know, how do you become good at writing? Maybe it's from reading. Maybe you just read a lot, you know, and you read a lot of good books, right? If you read a lot of bad books, maybe you get bad. If you read a lot of Instagram abbreviations, I don't know if that helps your game, but if you've read classics, you know, the Jane Austens, the different kinds of people with different writing styles across the board, and learn about different ways to you know, when you've heard a scene described, you could just say it was fall, or you could say like, you know, the leaves were on strike and their colors were ruby and brilliant. Like there's so many ways to do it, but once you've seen that, you're like, oh, okay, I enjoyed that more than just saying fall. How could I? So all that stuff I think is in there, and it just sort of comes out in the marketing, and you make compelling copy, and copies everywhere. To your point, websites, emails, everything, social, it all has the written word. And if you just give it a little time, some practice and some reading, really reading good stuff, I see that's kind of like this foundational strength that you have. And then the fact that you're not afraid to just try out random things like retargeting means that you can then use those words in many different ways.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting about what you just said is, one, I feel like people try to learn how to write from reading, which is not a bad way to go about it, but you really get better at writing by writing a lot. Like you
Oh,
just have
interesting.
to start writing. So like you can't just read about writing and expect that to like
Oh,
make you a good
Yeah,
writer.
I get what you mean. Yeah,
So
don't
like
just like, read a
because
book about
someone, yeah, no, like someone posted on LinkedIn, they're like, what are the best books to learn how to write better? And I was like, false.
it.
Like just like, yes, read voraciously, but like not just books about writing. Like you want to talk, like you want to like a subsection of like a bunch of different genres to understand different styles of communication, like short form, long form, thrillers, romance, like
Yeah.
like get. And the problem is like the people who focus on the book part, like I don't know, it goes back to like the worshiping at the altar of thought leaders. Like everyone's reading the same 10 business books. So they're all like the same style of writing that they're absorbing. So everyone's going to sound the same. I
Yeah.
like, that's what I think is the downside there. And yeah, like just focusing on the reading and not actually the doing, which is like practicing writing. Like you're not going to get good at it day one, day two. Again, it's like you got to build the muscle, write every day. Again, like write tweets, write blog posts, write ebooks, like Longshore, Fort Short, like all of that stuff, just like do it. And I know like that's the hard part. Again, like you got to put in the work. Like you're not going to be good at podcasting overnight. So like practice it and then you'll get better. And yeah, everyone's just looking for the shortcuts and the magic bullets and the hacks and like they don't want to put in the effort or like they just are daunted by the process. But that's how you get good at things. Like I was never naturally good at networking. It's my superpower now, but I was afraid to make phone calls to people when I was 11 and I made my mom call my friends to set up like play dates. So like I've gotten good at it by putting myself in situations where I walk into a room of strangers and they all seem to be friends with each other. And I'm like, hi, do you mind if I join you? And then that's how I met my best friends in marketing. Like it just, you got to just do what's uncomfortable or hard.
So for other people in that situation, what do? You just sign up for some networking events and just did it, even though you're like, this is going to suck. I'm going to hate this. You just went and then.
Yeah, I actually gave a 10-minute talk on networking. And one of my things is, yeah, it's on my LinkedIn. So I took this speaker boot camp because, again, I'm not good at public speaking. I talk too fast. I'm Italian. I gesture a lot with my hands. I get very excitable. So I was like, okay, I'm not good at this. I'm not going to let that stop me from trying it or getting better at it. So I took this 3-day training camp called Shine, and they had it in Toronto last fall. And my talk was on networking because they have you ask your friends what you're good at, and that way you're not making assumptions about what your topic should be. So I assumed everyone would say content marketing, but all of them said networking. And I was like, okay, I guess like that's the best thing that I should be talking about. And so it was basically like the points at which you will stop trying to network is like you go to work and you're exhausted and you come home. So like, don't even let yourself come home, go straight from work, because or else if you sit on your couch, it's game over. Don't let yourself get dissuaded because of stupid things like it's raining. Like, sure, but you're not made out of sugar. You're not going to dissolve. Like, get an umbrella.
Right.
Like man up or badge up or whatever. Just go. Right. And then like you get to it. Let's say you bring a friend as a crutch. Then you're just talking to the friend all night. Fail. Yeah. Like you go, but you don't talk to anyone. You sit at the food table, you drink a beer, you leave, fail. Like talk to one person. And like, I do have a hack for this. If you're like super shy, like talk to the event organizer and say, hey, this is my first time. I'm shy. Like, can you introduce me to someone who's a regular at these things, or tell them what you're looking for or like what you want to get out of it, and then have them facilitate something. So it's a warm intro and you're not just like walking into a group of strangers. Cause I know that's scary. It's not easy to me. There are some nights where I go and I've been doing this a decade and I'm like, I don't feel like being here. Yeah. If you don't feel like being there and you really aren't going to put in the time, then don't bother. But if you are going to actually show up, then show up, like actually talk to at least one person. Don't feel like you have to canvas the room. It's better to have one real conversation than 10 surface level ones. I was at one event where like this guy literally infiltrated a circle I was standing in, handed out his business cards and then left. And I was like,
we all know those people.
What the fuck? Man, like that is not networking. That is like why networking gets a bad name.
I was wondering if you're going to bring that up because like I've experienced the exact same thing where you got like, hey guys, my name is whatever. And it's like, I don't know what his name is because
it's like
I
a human billboard. Like, no, go away. I like am not giving you my time. if you're not going to give me your time at all. So
Sure.
it's like, just go, talk to one person, and then follow up. Cause like, I've also had conversations where it like went really well. And I was like, great, this is a real connection we've made. Like, can't wait to stay in touch with this person. And like nothing afterwards, like nothing. And like, if I meet someone and I connect with them, I will send them a LinkedIn with a message saying where we met, what we talked about. If there are any actions where I was like, I'll introduce you to someone, or I'll send you this link to the Slack group, or like, here's this job board, or whatever the follow-up is, just so like, I don't forget. I have a terrible memory. And what will happen if I don't do that is 2-3 months down the line, I'll see them at something else and they'll be like, hey, Juliana, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, you fuck. And then I like have to look up the LinkedIn and I'm like, oh yeah, we met at, Collision Conference, and like your mom was, and like, at least I have that trail, right. and like I've got the like next steps written out for myself, so I don't drop the ball. And it's like, if you've done all the rest of the stuff, but you don't follow up, you don't say thank you for their time, you don't like, it's like, why did you even go? So right. I think there are like these two, like what you were saying about the checkout process in D2C, it's like, there are all these micro things that you have to do. And I feel like people will like halfway do it and then be like, why isn't it working? And it's like, okay, where to begin?
Crazy. That's a powerful tip. So we'll have to link to your talk on that, because everything you're saying is like super, you learn from experience, you learn that. And it's kind of funny because I can relate to thinking like, oh, I'm not good at this, or like some part of me wants to just sort of analyze and be like, nah, I don't want to talk to anybody. But then I just need to be like, just do it. And you're like, actually, I'm having a blast. I need to do this more. I remember being in Boston and going to these events like you're describing. And I think I would be like Red Bull and vodka. Okay, now I can talk to people. But yeah, like it doesn't even matter. Just go and talk. And then eventually some personality test was like, this is, like you said, like, this is your superpower. You like to talk to people and meet them. I was like, I do. Let me go do more of that. But it just took a little bit of courage to kind of get yourself into it. But yeah, so true on not keeping score. I remember just even like, oh, how many cards do you have in your hand? How many good, what's the ROI on that event? Don't even
You're
worry
doing
about
it wrong.
Like if I've met one person and we just hang out the whole time, as long as they're cool with it too. And you kind of feel like you made a friend there. Like that's way better than that other dude who met 80 people and doesn't remember any of them. And they certainly remember he's the tool and his card ends up in the trash,
Yeah, and it's honestly like, again, like, are you doing it for the right reasons? Are you trying to get something out of it? Are you just trying to get a job from someone you've never met? Like, I've gotten people who try to get me to make referrals, but I've never met them. So I'm not going to tell my recruiter at my company, like, that's me. That's like, that's my word that this person is going to be a good fit when I don't even know who they are. And like, people just want to go in, get what they came out for, and like leave. And that is not, it's not a short game. Again, it's like, you have to put in the work. This is like years of follow up, right? So like, and you can't do it because you want something. Like, you should really be leading with what you can offer the person you're talking to, because then you're building the right rapport and you're not asking out of nowhere for a favor when they just met you. And so I think like one of my favorite stories is, so in 2016, I was at HubSpot's inbound conference. There was an after party at Wistia's HQ. They're like a video hosting platform in Boston. And I met this woman there who is from Vancouver, and she was working at Unbounce at the time. So we hit it off. We were just like chatting all night. She was great. She had to go back to Canada after the conference. And so we stayed in touch on Twitter, and we were just like sharing each other's stuff and commenting and just like DMing sometimes. It's just great. So 2016, fast forward to last year, I moved to Canada, and I announced it on Twitter, because I tell everybody everything that's going on in my life on Twitter.
Nice.
And she's like, oh my gosh, you're in Canada now. Holy shit. Like, we should reconnect. Like, I would love to catch up with you. So we had a video chat. And so this is like 2019. So 3 years later from meeting her. And she's telling me all about her work and like all the stuff she's doing. And I'm telling her about like my whole journey with the move and being like settling in Toronto. And she's like, I don't know if you're looking for a job now that you're in Canada, but my friend works at Clearbanc and heads their growth team. Like, do you want to talk to him?
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, like I'd never heard of Clearbanc, like didn't know the tech scene in Toronto, but I'm always open to talking to cool people. So we had a phone call. It went super well. We totally hit it off. He's like, do you want to come in for an interview? Like, we don't have a job description really, but like just talk to some people. So I talked to their partnerships lead and their product lead and a bunch of other people. That went really well. He was like, all right, like, love your background. Think you could do a lot here. Like, here are 3 roles I'm thinking for you. Which one do you like most? I said, this one. So then I was head marketing services, got the offer. But it's like, if I hadn't chatted with Steph at an after party, not even the conference, like an after party, if I hadn't taken the extra step of like going to the after party, putting myself out there to talk to her, staying connected on Twitter, like having that video chat, like telling her I might be looking for jobs. She thought of me when this opportunity came along. Like, and I didn't do it to get a job. Like, I did not, like, it was just like a nice side effect. It's the same thing with community. Like, don't do it to get dollars, but like that is the benefit. That's why everyone says it's so important, because like it does pay dividends. You just can't go into it for that. Like, it's like such a long game, and it's like actual genuine relationships, and so many people that I've met professionally that are now like my actual friends. So like that is it is so worth it. You just can't do it with the wrong reason.
The intention of it, that shows through, kind of like the ads we were talking about a while ago. The idea of, if you're the networker, and I've even seen really good networkers, but the problem is they're so good at it, but they're trying to get business out of it. And it just, I don't know. I mean, it comes across a little bit weird, because you're like, oh, you're just doing this to nurture me, as opposed to, so I come at it, I just want to be friends with these people, and whether they want to or not, I'm like, I just want to be friends. And then we'll figure out the whole business thing later. Let's just go have beers at Inbound or whatever, and then see what happens. Do you remember who the concert was that year? That's the only way I keep track of it.
Might have been like Janelle Monáe or something.
Oh, okay. I was there for like the One Republic year. I don't know when they came out here. But yeah, that's how I keep track of Dreamforce too. Like, who was the band? Metallica. Oh yeah. Which year Metallica? That year. Oh, okay.
That's really funny.
That's cool though. Wistia as well. The cool group. Love all those guys. Cambridge.
Yeah. If you're going to talk about like brands that do their marketing well and like add value and have such a strong, loyal following, like Wistia is definitely up there. Like, it's so interesting because like, they will, like, if your customers love you, they will market for you. Anytime there's a tweet or something where someone's like, hey, what tool should I use? Like, your rabid fans will be like, you have to use Wistia, man. They're so amazing. And then like, and it's not even just like this person's word, which you're probably going to take over like someone selling themselves. But it's like, they have the content to back it up. So if someone's like, oh, Wistia, and I'm like, I've never heard of them before. And I click through and they've got this giant library of amazing content about like everything to do with video, like not even things they offer, but like the things that are tangential, like creative direction or like audio or like what tools to use or like all of it. It's so personal and valuable and like actionable and like they have clear instructions and like they are so creative and they have such fun with what they do, and it's like you just want to be part of it. And like that's like being authentic, being helpful, like that is again really hard to get well, like, but that's what you get. Like the benefit is like this beautiful halo effect of everyone wanting to be part of your ecosystem and wanting to share the word of what you're doing. And so like I just think it's so hard to stay focused on the stuff that really matters when there's so many metrics and expectations, especially if you take, venture capital or you've got pressure of like the hockey stick and like everything's bottom line. But if you can manage to clear yourself from all that pressure, like that's really when you get the space to do the good stuff.
Yeah. You may not be able to measure it right away, like if your brand can have a story, when you went to that party, that's how you met. Like for me, my friend Kristen used to work there in marketing, and she actually brought like her video rock star down to a company retreat we were having for my company. We were down in Charleston, rented a cool beach house. They flew in, brought like the white backdrop and all their camera gear, and they helped us film like hi, this is our company. It's on our website now. It's like, hi, I'm Casey. Hi, I'm Carlos, right? They helped us film a video, and they talked to us about how to do it, how to write the script for it. And everything. They didn't charge us for that. We were just partners and we were just helping each other out. But what a story. And now we have that video forever and we host it on Wistia. So it's like, it's if you can be, those kind of things will stick around forever, just like the bad stuff will too, but also the good stuff. Those are stories that people keep telling.
Yeah, and honestly, like I had the same experience. Like I was part of the founding group that like we have an organization in Boston called Boston Content. And it was like as content marketing became a thing that you could specialize in, everyone's like, what does this career path look like? What should I be paid? Like, what's my next move? Like, how do I become like a team lead instead of an individual contributor? What are the tools that I have to learn how to use? What are the metrics? All that. So we started this informal meetup group, and then it became bigger and bigger and bigger. So we ended up having like this annual bash where we had 200 people show up to like celebrate the end of the year. And Wistia brought a booth and they filmed a bunch of things and like gave us a video that was like really beautiful, like people coming in front of the camera to talk about like different things about content marketing. And it was like, yeah, I don't think we paid them for it. I think they just were being awesome. But it's like, that's what matters. Like now we're talking about it like years later. So it really, it's just doing the things that are great because they're great. And if it pays out, awesome. If it doesn't, karma, I believe in karma. So I don't know.
Well, even as a brands have karma, you know, like what you put out there, you're going to get back, especially during the crazy times. I think it's doubled during crazy times. So if you do crazy marketing now, it could cost you twice as much. So warning. Hey, question. If you could go back in a time machine, because I actually may or may not have a time machine in New Hampshire. If you could go back in time and visit yourself, like at the beginning of your marketing career or just beginning of your career, like you just got your English degree, you're like, okay, world, I'm here. If you could talk to yourself then, would you tell yourself anything? What kind of advice would you give yourself?
I would say on the fluffy side, like, don't beat yourself up for not having a plan, and no one cares if you hop around from job to job. Because I think when I was starting out with my career, it was still one of those legacy things where my parents had both worked for the federal government for like their entire lives, and it was very frowned upon to move around. But as my career has progressed, like I've only had one recruiter in my entire career that's batted an eyelash at how many jobs I've had. It's viewed as a strength to have worked in many different environments and sizes of companies and different verticals, and it's been a huge benefit by accident. So I'd say, like, don't be afraid to leave a situation where you're not happy or you don't believe in the product or leadership doesn't value your time. I know it's really easy, like the same way I would tell any friend who's dating a loser, I'd be like, get out of there. Like, but it's easier to give that advice. Like when you're on the flip side, it's really hard to see clearly. And so, but it's like, if you're miserable, like, and you're talented, like, there are other companies, or you could just start your own thing.
Whether it's like a significant other or a company, it's not that bad. It's not a good, like, that's
not good.
Well, I mean,
life's too short.
Yeah, I'm a marketing manager, and it's not that bad. But like, no, go find good. Go find amazing. You know,
right? And I think
up all night.
That's tough advice to follow now, because obviously everyone's like,
right now,
you know, like they need a
where you're at right
now. Yeah, stay where you're at right now. My future self would tell my baby self, like, you know, don't beat yourself up about trying out a lot of different things. And I mean, it's again been an accidental benefit, because honestly, like, another one of my pet peeves is like, companies don't reward loyalty. Like employees who stay, like, don't get the paychecks that people who don't stay get. And it's like, every year that you stay and you get your 5% raise, or even not even that, like, you're not getting paid market value anymore. And anyone who comes into your company from outside is probably making more than you are, which is fucked up, considering you probably know way more about the customer and the product.
Companies don't always recognize when you come in, and
it's crazy. So it's like actually been to my benefit, like financially, to hop around and leverage my negotiation skills. The other non-fluffy thing I would tell myself,
non-fluffy,
non-fluffy, get an employment lawyer to check every employment contract and separation agreement, because I have like royally fucked myself over by not doing that in several scenarios.
Well, I guess if you are hopping around, you got to be clear about what those separation agreements mean. That's a good point. Just have some
and the contracts, right?
Yeah.
People are signing like these non-compete agreements. They're signing like, I don't get my stock options if I don't vest. So like, if someone lets you go with that, like you didn't get the salary, you got the stock options, which are worth nothing because you weren't there a year. Like that is a very precarious, shitty scenario to put yourself in. So like it is worth paying someone $300 to $400 to win you back tens to 20s to thousands of dollars, like down the line. And so I think people are afraid of lawyers, or they don't think they need one, or it's so worth it. And then same thing with separation agreements. There's like non-disparagement clauses that can really mess you up. Like there are all these strings attached to like how you get your severance. So talk to a professional. I would say the same thing for anyone launching their business. Like get an accountant that's professional. Like yes, you can hack things. Yes, you can Google everything, but like, do you want to learn things the hard way? Right. Or do you just want someone who knows how to steer you in the right direction?
Yeah. And you know what? And for some of the attorneys too, they'll just chat with you. Yeah. For half an hour. You're like, here's my crazy thing. And they're like, you're crazy, go away. But at least you know. Yeah. Or actually there's something here, or there isn't, or just a little bit like it's worth it. Just peace of mind. Well, I can't really do anything about this situation. Or I can, but now you know, you don't have to wonder about it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm talking to a professional tomorrow because I'm like, I've never done consulting before. Like, how do I even structure myself? Am I a sole proprietor? Do I incorporate me? Like, what is the tax bracket?
How do I even?
Yeah, and Canada.
Yeah.
And then if I have US-based clients, what does that mean?
Yeah, better to ask someone than find out.
I'm not going to.
By the way, now you owe us $10,000 because. Right, that would be wild. Well, this is crazy. This is awesome. We've just chatted forever. I guess where can people connect with you is my next question. I mean, there's so many things we could talk about, but we should just like, where do people find you? Where can they connect?
Yeah, I'm super active on Twitter. As I mentioned, my handle is Attack of the Text, and I'm on it all the time. I'm also pretty active on LinkedIn. If you do try to connect with me, please send me a message telling me why. Because that's one of my pet peeves too, is like, why are you connecting with me? Because my number one suspicion will be like, what are you trying to sell me? So please just say, heard you on the KC podcast and I'm not trying to sell you anything, and then talk about yourself if you want. But like, that's what I need to know from you for me to say accept. And then where else? Yeah, those are the two major ones. I'm like, I feel like Facebook is for my friends and family, and
no, like Twitter's great. It's so open.
Yeah. Oh, Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram. Actually, I've been doing a lot of explorations of my neighborhood and trying to like play human Frogger while I'm doing so. Trying to like avoid people. But what's really cool is Toronto has all these back alleys with amazing graffiti. Like these murals and artists are I can't even like, so every few days I've posted 4 to 5 to 6 photos of really amazing art that I've seen within like a 15-minute radius of my apartment.
What's your thing on Instagram?
It's at Jules, Juilz. So feel free to see my.
Is that like your AIM screen name?
No, my AIM screen name was Rose Meadow.
Really?
Roses do not grow in meadows, but that's fine.
But just there you go. Maybe there's something. Maybe it means something. I don't know.
I just was trying to be clever, I guess. Attack of the Text was like, I joined Twitter late in the game. It was like 2011, and everything I thought of was taken. And I kept hitting this wall where I started combining like verbs with nouns. Like it's like Matchbox 20 or like Maroon 5. And I was like, short giraffe, like blah, blah. Oh, right. And then I was like, this is stupid. And I don't align myself with short giraffes. So like, why am I picking this? And then I was like thinking about this Lauryn Hill song called Attack of the X. And I was like, I want something English majory. So I was like, Attack of the Text, like copy. And it was long, but it was available. And then it's funny because like now I feel like everyone's handles are like their names, but whatever, I've stuck to it.
Right. Well, as long as you stick to it, then it looks like you meant to do it, you know?
Oh yeah, totally. I've just marched to my own drum.
That's it. Well, Juliana, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for coming on here. I mean, I've learned a bunch. I've had so much fun chatting and all that good stuff.
Yeah, me too. This is awesome. I love going on rants. Thank you for the free marketing therapy. I feel like I got a lot of weight off my chest.
Yeah, I should have looked at my watch, but like, All right, that's been an hour. I will see you next time. But wait, we just got started. For those listening, for your therapy session as well, if you've learned something, and I know you have, because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, then share this with someone else. Be a thought leader to 14 people, 90, 104, whatever. Just LinkedIn, Twitter, just get this information out. And reach out to Juliana about your website, what she does, services too. I mean, she mentioned earlier just looking at someone's website and their conversion path and being actually, this is crazy. And there may be some things that you might have on your site too. It's worth reaching out to and getting a little fresh eyes on the situation. So thank you so much again, Juliana. I appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
We'll have to come back on post-COVID and then just update us on the world.
That sounds awesome.
Awesome. Well, sweet. Well, everyone out there listening, this has been the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will catch you all next time.
All right. A big thank you to today's sponsors. Cheshire Impact, helping marketers and sales win, maximizing the use of Pardot and Salesforce. And a big thank you to Qualified.com, the #1 live chat and chatbot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Remember the giveaway. If you have Salesforce Pardot and you want a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed, then you go over to Qualified.com, engage in a chat, do a demo, and tell them that Casey sent you, and that book will be on its way to your door. All right. We'll see you all in the next one.